He discusses the origins of the Elric character with the Finnish myth of Kullervo and the pulp antagonist Monsieur Zenith of Sexton Blake fame, both of which Michael Moorcock has not only copped to, he's called further attention to his theft by publishing a Monsieur Zenith story himself. And this is a crucial fact to recognize. While Michael Moorcock has repeatedly acknowledged his inspirations, and in fact, when people ignore them, it only inspires him to trumpet their values even more loudly, Andrzej Sapkowski has done precisely the opposite, obfuscating his initial inspirations as being purely couched in Polish myth, which, like most lies, has a degree of truth to it, while skirting the similarities between his own work and that of Michael Moorcock. But The Witcher is a work of plagiarism, as I will ably demonstrate today, and it goes a hell of a lot deeper than just a name and an appearance. But those being the most obvious examples, and the ones Witcher fanboys like the golden one in a god-awful vlog response from March of this year love to hand-wave away without any actual research, and not coincidentally with flat fucking zero personal knowledge of the Elric franchise. Look, to ascertain whether this rises to the threshold of plagiarism, however, we need an effective real-world example. Now, I come from comic book fandom, so the one that inevitably springs to mind involves one of the greatest hacks to ever hack a hacksaw, Rob More Pouches Please Liefeld, namely the kooky case of a character called Fighting American. When the Captain America's original creators became disillusioned with the direction Cap had taken in the fucking 50s, they split and created the short-lived quasi-clone Fighting American. No big deal. After all, it wasn't much of a hit, and so the IP lay dormant for decades, until the neon 90s when Liefeld left Marvel in a huff several issues before his agreed-upon exit. Being a talentless fucking boob, he elected to reuse pages he'd previously illustrated for Captain America by altering a few minor details for his own revival of Fighting American. He even gave the fuck a shield as if it weren't already rather on the nose. Marvel sued the living shit out of him. Liefeld had no viable defense, and so he came to the bargaining table, whereupon it was decided Fighting American could ship, provided he never threw the fucking shield. Otherwise, Marvel would have proceeded with the ironclad copyright case, and off to the cleaners he'd go. And what was the similarity in that case? A name and an appearance. That's it. Remember that threshold. Only a similar name and only a similar appearance.
What I didn't know at the time was just how much I would eventually want to say about it. Boy, was I ever naive. So here's a separate video for the... During this long and perilous journey, he almost dies several times, and then only after he's about to be fucking gutted does his dad show up.
Are they gone, Father?
They sure are.
Anyway, despite this not even coming to North America until 4 years after The Lion King, the Kimba crowd still uses this show in their comparisons as evidence that The Lion King ripped off Kimba. You see, one of The Lion King directors, Roger Allers, was actually in Japan in the 1980s working on a film called Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland. In the book titled From Goods to a Good Life, Intellectual Property and Global Justice, Georgetown University law professor Madhavi Sundar writes that Roger Allers was in Japan at the exact same time as this remake series was airing on Japanese television.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
But if you actually do your research, you'll find that he left Japan by 1985, 4 years before this show was aired anywhere. He was already back in Los Angeles working on Oliver and Company and The Little Mermaid and The Rescuers Down Under.
One day from a reporter in San Francisco. He introduces himself as Charles Burress of the San Francisco Chronicle, saying, Mr. Ladd, we have a peculiar situation here. Maybe you can help me with this. He said, there's a lot of turmoil here. There are big fan clubs up here who are really up in arms, who are complaining and are agitating. They're claiming that the Disney studio, with this Lion King that's opening now everywhere, is in fact a ripoff of Tezuka's Kimba the White Lion. Would you comment on that? I said, I'm hearing about this for the first time. I said, I'm a member of the TV Academy, and my wife and I will be going there in 2 days. It's going to be showing the Academy. I'll see it there, and let's talk there. Let me see it. I haven't heard anything about this. Well, we're in the theater, the Academy Theater, watching it. First thing I see is I see a baboon who bears an uncanny resemblance, both in appearance and in his moniker, and in his role in the picture. he's playing the same function as does Daniel Baboon in Kimba the White Lion done 30 years earlier. Well, okay, you know, there's more than one baboon out there in the jungle. I guess if you walk, you can see them in all the branches. Then there's a talking bird that appears. That's, gosh, I said that's a lot like our Polly Cracker. The parrot, it's not a parrot, but it's a talking bird, and its role, its function, dramatically, is virtually the same thing. He's an irritant. Gosh, this is just like Kimba. You know, maybe this reporter, maybe the San Francisco bunch has got a point there. Well, as it went on, then I see two hyenas, two wisecracking, smart-alecky hyenas. Boy, I said, two hyenas, and they're the comic relief, and they're the sniveling villains of this thing? Wow, I said, that's really getting close to Kimba now. I mean, if the others weren't close, this certainly is. Well, finally, we see Simba, what I was going to call our little lion before it became Kimba, walks out onto a promontory against the sky with billowing clouds. And I turned to my wife, Arlene, and I said, boy, I said, don't tell me they're going to pan up to the clouds. In the clouds, we're going to see the dead father's image. And the camera did indeed in this picture of Lion King. The camera panned up, and there the clouds took the shape of the dead father. I said, oh boy. I said, this is right out of Kimba, sorry. I said, now I understand what those fans are all agitating about. The distinguished San Francisco writer Fred Schott felt exactly, we discussed it days later. I said, Fred, have you seen Lion? He said, yes, I know what you're going to say. It says, boy, he says, I saw it, Fred, I couldn't, the two Freds, Ladd and Schott. He said, I couldn't believe it. I said, boy, I said, this is gee whiz, and I'm, you know, I'm on friendly terms with the Disney people. What do I say? I can't, you know. But it was unmistakable for Jeff Katzenberg, then to have later on taken the position when confronted with this, to be accused of ripping off a series done 30 years earlier, not 30 days earlier, or 30 weeks or 30 months earlier, 30 years earlier. And for any Disney rep to say, well, this couldn't be a ripoff of Kimba because our animators, they're young guys, they never even saw Kimba. When in fact, I knew those guys. I knew that they had Kimba masks in their animation cells at the Disney studio. They were young kids. They did all grow up with Kimba. They couldn't help but be influenced by it. And there's just, to say, so much similarity there that I think one cannot just glibly try to explain it away.
And many of the points being made here just seem like strategically reworded points from Fred Patton's book, which is kind of ironic if you think about it, and at least she does credit Fred Patton's book as a source in the footnotes, but that kind of makes this even more embarrassing when you read that one of her points against The Lion King is the Kimba-Simba name similarity, because that point was already debunked within the very here as though they're just as legitimate as anything else said in this book, and also there are several points being made here that I can't find backed up by anywhere else anyway, not even within the very sources being listed. I have yet to find a single other person that claims that Mufasa showed up in a moon. Perhaps this low-res image in this shitty YouTube video she sourced is what confused
Simba, what I was going to call our little lion before it became Kimba, walks out onto a promontory against the sky with billowing clouds. And I turned to my wife, Arlene, and I said, boy, I said, don't tell me they're going to pan up to the clouds. In the clouds, we're going to see the dead father's image. And the camera did indeed in this picture of Lion King. The camera panned up, and there the clouds took the shape of the dead father. I said, oh, boy. I said, this is right out of Kimba, sorry. I said, now I understand what those fans are
talking about concept art that didn't even make it into the final product. Every single article that claims that Roger Allers was in Japan claims that Mufasa showed up in a moon. Even though there are a few visual similarities here and there, that's really not all that out of the ordinary when you're dealing with well over 3,000 minutes worth of Kimba footage. Once again, the differences... I was right! What you're talking about. Now, even though there are a few visual similarities here and there, that's
demonstrate today, and it goes a hell of a lot deeper than just a name and an appearance. But those being the most obvious examples...
One of the most common criticisms against The Lion King is that its cast of characters seems to mirror characters found in Kimba.
Every animal character in Kimba the White Lion has an analog in The Lion King.
But after actually having watched the show, it becomes pretty clear that these character comparisons only work if you strip away everything that the character actually is. Let's start with Polly and Zazu. Now, if you've only seen videos from the Kimba crowd and haven't actually watched the show, you'd probably assume that Polly is kind of like a head servant, major domo type character like Zazu. Well, as
about the parrot, it's not a parrot, but it's a talking bird, and its role, its function, dramatically, is virtually the same thing. He's an irritant. Gosh, this is just like Kimba. You know, maybe this reporter, maybe the San Francisco bunch has got a point there. Well, as it went on, then I see two hyenas.
Proceeded with the ironclad copyright case, and off to the cleaners he'd go. And what was the similarity in that case? A name and an appearance. That's it. Remember that threshold. Only a similar name and only a similar appearance.